All right, guys, it is November 17th, 2025. I am Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. And before we do anything, yes, let's just get it out of the way. I'm dressed a little bit differently than normal today, and there is a reason for it, okay? I know it's very hard to watch news from people if they are not in a button-down and a blazer. That's how it is. What they're wearing beneath the table, nobody knows. But that's generally how it is done in the world of news. However, over the weekend, we are doing some painting in the house, and in the master bedroom, they're doing this electrostatic paint around the sliding glass doors, and the room has been cordoned off like a COVID super spreader event, or like when they got E.T. at the end of the movie. And I could not get in there this morning, and I'm sleeping upstairs right now, and this is all I had. This is it. Well, and I wore it yesterday, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. This is where we're at. And I didn't have pants either, so I'm doing this in sweatpants today. It just is what it is. But will that affect the quality of the program? I don't think so. But it is, I know visually it's tough to deal with, right? Because it's like, wait a minute, he's not wearing a blazer. Can he provide the news? It would be like seeing Wolf Blitzer's arms. And nobody wants to, my God, AI really is going to destroy all of us. That is a part of Wolf Blitzer's arm that nobody has seen and nobody wants to see. He looks like he's been hitting the gym though. Look at Blitzer right there. Anyway, I'm going to do my best to bring you the news as I always do. And we're going to have some fun today, talk about a little bit of the craziness. There's some more fighting on the right. Michelle Obama is having a problem with her hair. It's a lot of serious stuff. I should mention the Make America Thankful shirt is available at, is it daverubin.store, if I'm not mistaken. And we do have some Copal left. It's 20% off right now if you go to drinkcopal.com and you want to, you might be sitting at the Thanksgiving table with some shrieking, harpy, progressive aunt. Maybe her name's Karen. And you might want to do it over tequila. Okay, let's dive right in. We got a ton to get to. Let's start with the pressing story over the weekend. Michelle Obama, we've shown you a couple clips of her lately, and it's sort of amazing. And even though it's going to sound a little small in some sense to start the show with, I think it addresses something that is important that we're always talking about, which is the desire for a certain set of people to always be the victim. No matter how rich, no matter how much power they have, no matter how much privilege they have, they still want to be the victim. And what is it that is really about? Is it because they believe themselves to be a victim, or is it because they can use that perceived victimhood as a cudgel, as a hammer to whack you in the head so they can attain power? I think it's that. Let's dive in. Here she is, Michelle Obama. She's still having problems with her hair, and I think it's mostly because white people are the issue.
Worry about it. Let me explain something to white people. Our hair comes out of our head naturally in a curly pattern. So when we're straightening it to follow your beauty standards, we are trapped by the straightness. That's why so many of us can't swim and we run away from the water. People won't go to the gym because we're trying to keep our hair straight for y'all. I think I learned then that how you show up, especially when it comes to white folks looking at young black kids, that how you present can sometimes save your life. So yeah, I think I was learning that all throughout my youth.
Oh, Lord, lady. Okay, there's a lot there. We've talked a little bit about black hair before, and I was going to we tried at the last second to get black hair expert Sage Steele on the show today, but she's stuck in a meeting right now. But I have discussed black hair with Sage, who is a black woman. She has spectacular hair, by the way. We've discussed that on Actual Friends. If you haven't seen that episode, maybe we can put a link in the description. Can we do that? I think we could probably do that. Now, there's a couple things here. And again, we're going to get to the why I'm covering this. But first off, if it's such a problem, what's going on with the hair that's growing out of your head, why are you straightening it for our views of beauty? First off, I know I'm old school, but I think white people think a lot of different things about things. I think black people think a lot of different things about things. But if black people's hair grows a certain way, why are you bending to what white people want? If it's just so stupid to even think about, but why are you doing that? That says more about you than what you think white people want out of black people's hair. That's a hell of a statement. Also, black people can't swim. I am pretty sure I've seen black people swim. I would have to check. And even I watched Jaws over the weekend. There was at least one black person in the water. So black people, as far as I know, can swim just as well as white people. Also, black people can't go to the gym because of a hair issue. You know, I saw Kanye at the gym once, and when I lived in Encino, he's black. And something about how you present. It's like, lady, what? All right, let's go to my black hair expert, Sage Steele. She saw that clip. She said this. Why is she so angry? And of course, white people are to blame for her hair issues. Good Lord, it's exhausting and sad that this is how she is choosing to use her platform as a former first lady. Right. Like, lady, what are you doing? What are you doing, Michelle Obama? Like, you could be doing all sorts of good things in the world right now, but for some reason you want to get up there and make it seem like there's some racist scheme around black hair. It's just crazy. Also, I don't know what's going on. She's lost a little weight. She's starting to look like one of them cloners from Camino, isn't she? Okay, here's a little bit more from Michelle.
Yeah, women, we have so many landmines and barriers and don'ts and limitations. It's, you know, I mean, Craig, you're the guy at the table, but I think it's important for all guys listening, especially men raising daughters, to realize that difference, you know, and that thing that inadvertently, as you are loving and raising these beautiful girls, there are so many rules that make us small.
Oh, there's just so much there. Yes, everyone knows there's differences between boys and girls. That's, well, I'd say everyone knows it except you guys who seem to think there aren't differences. And if a little girl plays with G.I. Joe, she is a boy. And if a little boy plays with Barbie, then he is a girl. But again, it's this victimhood mentality. And we're almost to the point. I promise you will see why we are doing this. I want to show you one more image before we get to it. This is from the N-Wokeness account on X. And I thought this illustrates it perfectly. Privileged, and of course what you're seeing there are white coal miners. And that kid's got to be what? Kid's probably like 6, 8 years old, something like that. White coal miner back in, that's probably, you know, that's over, well, definitely over 100 years ago, probably in Pennsylvania or something. And that's privileged. And of course, the victims, well, then you have with their straightened, white, pleasing hair, Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey. Okay, so what is the point of all this beyond just showing you that there's this desire to always tell other people about your perceived depression? Well, something that's going on here is that the reality is there actually has been far greater attack on young men than there has been on young women. And this has been going on forever, right? This is just telling young boys, oh, you're white and straight and you have toxic masculinity and all of these things. If you do that to a generation of young boys growing up, who are all growing up with the phone and getting all sorts of crazy messages here, and who are lost on Discord and in video game land and God knows what, that you are ultimately breaking their brains. And now a lot of evidence is coming out that young men are struggling and struggling big time. So I want to jump over to Real Time with Bill Maher. On Friday night, he had Professor Scott Galloway from NYU, who I've had on the show, and actually I'm interviewing a little bit later today. It'll be up in a couple days. And here he is talking about a bit of the crisis that young men are going through right now.
I mean, just for example, the number of men, I didn't realize this till I read the book, the percentage who live at home still, live with their parents. What are those numbers?
It's about 30% of men under the age of 25, 1 in 3 are still at home. 1 in 5 are still at home by the age of 30. So, yeah.
Is that economic or emotional or both?
Yes, it's one. Men aren't. I mean, effectively, what you have is they're up against this indomitable enemy, and that is 20% or 40% of the S&P is now 10 companies whose primary mission is to get you as glued to a screen for as long as possible. Any minute they can keep you on a screen longer is billions of dollars. So what we've literally done, Bill, is unwittingly built an economy which is dependent upon our ability to evolve a new species of asocial, asexual male.
Ooh, that line right there, that's the dystopian line, right? Asexual, what was it? Give me the full, I want to get the full line completely right. Can you back up that last 10 seconds?
I mean, just for example.
To evolve a new species of asocial, asexual males.
Asocial, asexual males. Man, this is so connected to so much of what I'm always talking about with the phone. So while there is a set of people, Michelle Obama said, she's an adult woman who wants you to think she's oppressed because of the way her hair comes out of her head. What we're really seeing with the data to prove it, and Scott, I have some political disagreements with the guy, but he is a seriously hardcore researcher who communicates this stuff really well. These numbers are crazy, that about a third of young men under 25 still living at home. And then Bill's follow-up was quite good. Is that emotional or economic? And it's starting to become both, right? We've talked a lot in the last 2 weeks or so since the Zohran Mamdani, there I said his name right, that'll be the one time I do it this week. Since his victory, there is now a new focus on what Trump and the right can do for young people economically to get them out of the glaze of socialism, right? So there is an economic problem for sure, right? They're getting worse jobs. We're on the forefront of the AI and automation stuff. They know, or they at least feel, that their lives will not be as successful as their parents. That's a huge problem. So that's the economic problem, but then there's the emotional problem, which is that society has told them that they're horrible. This is also a generation that missed their high school prom because of COVID, missed college years, didn't have the formative years. They're growing up more neurotic and upset. They're also growing up in hyperpolarization. They're growing up in a time where there's very, very, very few adults in the room. Like, where are our thoughtful adults? We've had some over the years. I put Jordan Peterson at the top of that list, but where are the adults that are telling them what to do, how to do it right, how to live a good life, and all of those things? And then you wonder why they can't get out of their parents' basements, and they also can't date, and thus their whole life will start out a little bit later. Here's more from Scott on that.
45% of men 18 to 24 have never asked a woman out in person. 63% of men under the age of 30 are not even pursuing a relationship. And if you think about the most rewarding things in your life, I mean, the things that really matter, they are essentially relationships. And what do they all have in common? They're really damn hard. And unfortunately, big tech, the most deep-pocketed, godlike technology in the world, is trying to convince young men that they can have a reasonable facsimile of life online. Why go through the pecking order of trying to establish friendships when you got Reddit and Discord? Why put on a tie and navigate the corporate world when you can trade crypto or stocks on Robinhood or Coinbase? And why would you go through the effort, the expense, and the potential rejection and humiliation of establishing a romantic relationship when you have porn?
All right, so there's some seriously damaging stuff here. You know, it's worth noting that whether this is a grand conspiracy, I'm going to ask Scott this when I chat with him in like an hour from now, whether he feels it's a grand conspiracy that big tech did this, or is big tech just a reflection of what we are, right? We can all say, oh, we want to go out there and have great relationships. We all want to follow the grand adventure of life. We want to do amazing things and everything else. But that actually what we do is the other stuff, right? So was it designed to break all of our brains, or are they just giving us exactly what, when left to our own devices, we end up choosing, which is that we will choose trading crypto or watching porn or whatever those things are that he just mentioned there? Will we always choose the easier one? Because it is much harder to actually meet a human being, to go and sit across from somebody and look at them and try to figure out who they are as they try to figure out who you are, and then to say, my God, I might go on the adventure of life with you. Like, that's tough. That's crazy. That's also the thing that humans have been doing for thousands of years, which we seem to be trading away right now. But I think it is interesting to note, is it a grand conspiracy against us, or is it just a reflection of actually how we behave? But regardless of what the answer to that is, there really is a problem. So I just want to show you one more from Scott on Real Time, talking about how this is now connected to anxiety and depression.
I believe slowly but surely we're going to start to see fewer and fewer young men out in the wild because they're going to decide to sequester. And if I could say anything to young men, it's that the anxiety and depression you will eventually feel in your basement sequestered from other mammals is far greater than the fear of anything that lays outside of that room for you. Get out of the basement, get off your phone.
All right, so that's really good too. So all of these guys, you can sort of think about this as like they're kind of self-medicating, right? So you're at home, you're post-college now, you should have got a job, you maybe have some trivial job, but you live with your parents, which at some point, you know, sometimes there's different reasons to rely on your parents a little bit more, lean on them a little bit more, move back home for a little bit. Life has a panoply of things that can happen, right? Like, so this is not like just a blanket judgment on everybody. But in essence, what he's saying is we now have a young generation that is in essence self-medicating. They are self-medicating by being online, having all of their perceived needs or their immediate needs taken care of, right? As opposed to doing all the things, going through all the challenges that life is about. And then, and I think you can connect this to something that's much bigger going on culturally and politically, what will happen? Because then he's saying, well, you will end up much, much worse, right? Like at the end when you're sequestered in your parents' basement, we'll do that for a couple of years. And then you will end up much worse than you are, right? And then if you sort of put that framework around what's been going on in America politically, even some of the fighting on the right with some of this Fuentes stuff, angry young men who want to burn it all down, you can start to see, I think, a more clear picture as to what we might be up against in the next couple of years. So let's put that down for a moment. We'll get into some more fighting on the other side, but first, Morgan and Morgan. If you've ever been seriously hurt in an accident, your injury could actually be worth millions, and most people have no idea. Insurance companies love to lowball claims, offering way less than what you deserve. That's why there's Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm with over 1,000 attorneys across 50 states. They've been fighting for people for more than 30 years, and they don't settle for lowball offers. Just recently, they won $12 million in Florida, $26 million in Philadelphia, and $6.8 million in New York, all way above what insurance companies offered. And the best part, it's completely free unless you win. No upfront costs, no hidden fees. It takes only a couple minutes to see if you have a case. Did you know you can start a claim with America's largest injury law firm in just one click? It's super easy. Just go to forthepeople.com/Rubin or click the link in the description and pin comment. Guys, I should note real quick. So as I said, I have Scott Galloway for an interview shortly after this. It'll be up this Saturday, and I'm going to follow up on a whole bunch of this. So let's just pin that there. Let's dive into some other crazy fireworks over the weekend, which is that the Epstein thing is back or not back, depending on who you're listening to. Listen to this is from the Oversight Dems Twitter account. Oversight Dems have received new emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate that raise serious questions about Donald Trump and his knowledge of Epstein's horrific crimes. And there's a couple emails there. Some of the stuff is redacted. Now, I want to start this segment, basically, we're going to do a deep dive here, but I want to start this basically by saying, as we know, the Epstein thing burns hot for a while, then it disappears, then it burns hot, then it disappears. And as you know, I am always much more interested in the narrative, the grand narrative, the kayfabe version of all of this, rather than just what's going on sort of at every given moment. And it seems to me right now the Epstein stuff is coming back because the Democrats think that they can pin it on Donald Trump, even though there's a lot of evidence that Donald Trump was one of the few people in these circles that was trying to distance himself from Epstein and actually kicked him out and banned him out of Mar-a-Lago. We have a little more on what's going on here. This is from Greg Price on X. Democrats intentionally redacted the name of the victim in the Epstein emails they released. That's what I was just referring to. The unredacted version shows that it was Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre had testified multiple times that President Trump did nothing and that she never even saw him at Epstein's house. And there is some of the testimony right there. So you can already see the Democrats put this thing out, redacted the name. Why'd they redact the name? Because the victim in this case did not even, explicitly said Donald Trump did not do anything with her. Phoenix, roll for me just a little bit. I'm not even going to read all the specifics. We don't have to bludgeon everybody with all that. Here's a bit more from Greg Price. The only scandal Democrats revealed by their latest attempt to revive the Epstein hoax is that Michael Wolff, who we've been reliably informed is the greatest journalist of all time, was apparently giving Epstein rapid response advice. And there are some emails as it pertains to that. Again, I'm not going to read all the specifics of this, but you can see what I'm trying to show you here is that when these things seem to come back, listen to me, let me be very clear about this. Anyone that did anything with Epstein related to young children or any trafficking, sex, blah, 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 should be exposed. It does not matter if it's Republican or Democrat. You have to protect the innocent, you have to protect the victims, and everything else should be out there. The Democrats had full control of the government for years and did nothing about any of this. So suddenly that they feel like they can pin some of this on Trump, they're trying to go after it. Here is a little bit more because then the Democrats ended up deleting some posts. Breaking, the Democrats deleted their post claiming that President Trump spent Thanksgiving with Epstein in 2017, probably because it's an easily disproven lie and the attempts to connect President Trump to Epstein's crimes are a giant hoax. Okay, so what is going on here really? Well, I think this gets it quite well. Here is Senator John Barrasso talking to Kristen Welker on NBC about what the Democrats might be doing with the Epstein files right now.
I'm not sure what evidence is out there. What I do know is that the House is going to vote this week, try to make a decision, and we'll see if they send something to the Senate. And if they do, we'll take a look at that. But we want transparency and accountability. What I also know is that Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted sex offender, and he is dead. And President Trump threw him out of Mar-a-Lago 21 years ago. To me, what's going on with the Epstein, what's going on also with the shutdown, is this is the Democrats trying to appeal to their far left base and trying to change the topic from a failed shutdown, which hurt many, many Americans.
Right. So as far as we know, the only person that was in the Epstein circle that distanced themselves from Epstein before this all broke loose was Trump, banning him from Mar-a-Lago 21 years ago. That's one part of it. The second part is what I said before, which is that if the Democrats knew that they could have taken out Trump, they had access to all of these documents, whatever that file is, right? If someone made a mistake over the last couple of months, it's about 4 or 5, what was that, maybe 6 months ago, when Pam Bondi, Attorney General, said she had the files on her desk, and then she never released anything. And what did she mean by that? Did she literally mean a file? Did she literally mean on her desk? Is there some reason? Like, what are the files in and of themselves? Are they just the flight logs that we've all seen already, et cetera, et cetera? Anyway, here's Donald Trump on the latest controversy. Now that the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax involving Democrats, not Republicans, to try to deflect from their disastrous shutdown and all their other failures, I will be asking Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, J.P. Morgan Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. It is another Russia scam with all the arrows pointing to the Democrats. Records show that these men and many others spend large portions of their life with Epstein on his island. Stay tuned. So it seems to me that the Democrats might want to pause a little bit here, because if they keep pushing on this, there is probably going to be far more evidence that people like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and some of the Reid Hoffman and some of those others, these are major Democrat players, will be in far more hot water. But it's fairly obvious. This is just coming back because Democrats are trying to figure out a way post-government shutdown, where they did not get anything, to get a little juice back. Here is Scott Jennings on CNN trying to explain that to a bunch of dullards.
Connection to Epstein, as shown in those emails, according to Epstein, is unsavory, and it's not good.
Is that new information that he knew Jeffrey Epstein? Is it new information that Trump excommunicated him from Mar-a-Lago? Is it the only new information that we got this week off those emails was that somebody from the New York Times was advising Jeffrey Epstein, and we learned tonight from the Washington Post that Jeffrey Epstein was programming Democratic members of Congress. We didn't learn anything we didn't already know about Donald Trump, which was Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump, and now Democrats are aligning themselves with Jeffrey Epstein because Orange Man bad.
Did you read?
Yeah. I mean, again, the guy, in some sense, it's thought of as magic in one way, and another way, it's the easiest gig in the world. Just explaining what actually happened to panelists on CNN who aren't particularly bright. So there is nothing new here. Again, Trump is now promising, I mean, he's done this before. So and sometimes I don't know who to believe in, like the biggest sense around all of this. Like, will anything be released? What is it that will be released? You know, they found all sorts of wacky stuff, I think, on Epstein's computer. Can you release it? Like, it's kid porn. Like there's so many grotesque things here. But for whatever smoking gun there is that points to, Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or whoever was on a plane and knew they were going to an island because that's where underage girls were and blah, 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 blah. And what connections does that have with our intelligence agencies or foreign intelligence? All of that is there. And to whatever extent any of that can be released, it should be. And I'll just say one other thing on this, which is between Kash Patel, between Dan Bongino, who I know and love, between Trump and JD and Rubio and all the people that are involved in this administration, if this is it. This is the best shot we have to have anything close to transparency. So if you're hacking away at this administration, I think you're just making a mistake. Let's talk about balance of nature, and then we will jump to another fight that Trump is in at the moment. Getting enough fruits and vegetables every day can be tough. That's why I love Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements. They make it simple to add a wide variety of whole foods to your daily routine, all in just a few capsules. These supplements aren't just convenient, they're made from 100% whole foods with no binders, fillers, or flow agents. Just 16 whole fruits and 15 whole vegetables that are freeze-dried, lab-tested, and packed with natural goodness. You can take them with water, chew them, or even mix the powder into your favorite food or drink. However you use them, it's the easiest way to get more real fruits and veggies into your day. Right now, you can get a free fiber and spice supplement plus 35% off your first order as a new preferred customer at balanceofnature.com. Just use code Rubin. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Rubin. All right, so another fight that Trump is in right now is with someone who, if you asked who's Trump's kind of biggest backers in Congress for the last 3-4 years, Marjorie Taylor Greene would be at the top of that list. I did interview her once in D.C., but here she is on a podcast talking about Trump and the Epstein files.
Everyone that voted for Trump Vance, everyone was like, release the Epstein files.
Right.
This is not even an argument. It's not even debatable. It's not being a traitor to the president to sign my name on a Thomas Massie discharge petition to release the Epstein files. No. I am staying true to what we've always said. There needs to be transparency.
Okay. That actually is true. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due first. She is saying that everyone, right, and everyone knows this, like a huge amount of the Trump base was running on this, and Trump was promising something. Now, did he know what he was promising? Did he overpromise? And again, the failure, the real communication failure in all of this is what Bondi did when she said the files are on my desk and we're going to be releasing them. When Marjorie Taylor Greene says, where are the files? Again, we don't know what the files are. That's the problem. And I don't know that she knows either. Like, what are the files? And is there even anything that hasn't been released? Is it all just redacted names? And you have to watch out for protecting the people that have been unjust, the people that have been molested and raped or whatever that is, right? Like, there's all sorts of stuff here. But to whatever extent the administration can be transparent about it, they need to be. But this has now burst forth into a huge fight between Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is now fully saying she will not back Trump anymore. And Trump ain't having it. He wrote this on Truth. I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman, I like how he put that in quotes, Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. Over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men and women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, and being respected by every country in the world, as opposed to being the laughingstock that we were just 12 months ago, having trillions of dollars, record-setting, invested in the USA, and having created the hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago, and so much more. All I see Wacky Marjorie do is complain. It seemed to all begin when I sent her a poll stating that she should not run for senator or governor. She was at 12% and didn't have a chance unless, of course, she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. She has told many people that she's upset I don't return her phone calls anymore, but with 219 men and women, 53 U.S. senators, 24 cabinet members, almost 200 countries, and an otherwise normal life to live, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. I understand that wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in the District of Georgia and that they are too fed up with her and her antics, and if the right person runs, they will have my complete and unyielding support. She has gone far left, even doing The View with their low IQ Republican-hating anchors. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Okay, man, that was like Trump on 6 Diet Cokes right there. There's a lot there. Now, my guess is the basics of it are probably true, that he was looking at internal polling in Georgia and she wanted to run for senator and governor. And he may have been like, I don't know about this, right? Because he doesn't want, if she gets whacked, because she is a bit of a fringe character, he doesn't want to take a hit on that. So she may have just been hearing that and being like, okay, I'm turning on you. Now, again, I'll try to give the devil his due. If her number one focus more than anything else is the Epstein stuff and Trump isn't giving her what she wants, then she's deciding to burn the relationship down. That's her prerogative. But what I would focus on is the top half of what Trump said right there. And it's what I always try to do on this show. And I think for you, the viewer, it's a really important thing to think about when you're thinking about who to watch, who communicates news to you in an honest way. Trump is getting wins after wins after wins, whether it's on the economy or on the border or on the peace deals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not everything's perfect. We would like it to be faster. Again, we're addressing some of the housing stuff and the economic stuff, particularly for young people. There are problems for sure, but there are so many freaking wins after this guy who they kicked out of office the first time, they tried to impeach twice, who almost got killed, the guy that we all wanted. We got the guy, and now you guys are all going to turn on him. It just sounds, it's why politics breaks people's brains, right? You don't have to sit there and lavishly lay praise on him and say he's infallible and nothing he ever does is wrong or anything like that. But man, those are all massive, massive wins. And we could have had a guy with dementia and an auto pen, or we could have had a lady who was wildly unqualified, or just some generic Republican that would have done absolutely nothing. So her turning on Trump seems quite bizarre to me. But now I think there's a bigger reason for it. The machine somehow always wins. One way or another, it wins. So Marjorie Taylor Greene turns on Trump, and then what happens? She gets on CNN, and now she apologizes for taking part in mean politics. So, even though CNN has, I have no doubt, lied about her forever, lied about Trump forever, called us all these wrong things, now they're going to give her a microphone, right? She went on The View last week. She went on Bill Maher, 2 weeks ago? Now she's going on CNN, and they're all going to love her. And why are they going to love her? Well, she doesn't like Orange Man.
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country, and it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions, and I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people.
All right, fifth time on the show, I'm going to give the devil his due. I want to credit her in some sense for what she's saying. I'll give her 80% credit. How do I try to do this show? Am I knives out for everybody all the time? Am I always going after everyone's motives and trying to burn everything else down? Or am I trying, generally speaking, probably failing at it sometimes, to turn the other cheek, to figure out where we can build bridges, not burn all those bridges, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to do what she's trying to do there. Now, she fully admits she's done it the other way. But to get up there, she has to understand, lady, Marge, if you're watching, you are going to now be loved by the very people you hated, who used to hate you only because you will now be against Trump. And you have to think, is that the type of tool you want to be used as? Because the people that hate Trump are way more dangerous than whatever you're upset with Trump by. Trump has been doing everything, but this gets to something deeper. Why is it that there is a certain set of people on the right that no matter what good Trump does are not happy with him? Here's Scott Jennings.
I do think it started with that political engagement. When they sent her that poll, that's when you start to see everything change. She opposed the president on his Middle East policy, attacking the Houthi rebels, attacking Iran. She's opposed the president on deportations this summer. So she's sort of become a policy opponent of the president, but I think it really all started with that political engagement, and now she's one of his most frequent critics on some of what I would argue has been his biggest successes this year. And if you want to count yourself as an ally of the President of the United States, it's not great to go out and run out to The View and other places and crap on him 24 hours a day. I mean, that's essentially what she's become. It's a well-worn path. A lot of other Republicans who've turned on the president have done that too.
Yeah, that's just right. So I would say this likely has far more to do with what she thinks the future of her career is, rather than a true mea culpa. Look, I don't know what's in her heart. I don't know what's in her mind. I don't. Would it be nice if what she said to Dana Bash there about letting go of the politics of evil, if that was genuinely authentic and she was trying to figure out a new way? I suppose it would. And we can all, and I include myself, we can all get better when it comes to that. But to turn on the guy who made your career, who's doing all the things you want, and then to immediately jump to the other side and then apologize. Well, in your own apology, you could have also said, Dana, do you apologize for taking part in any of this? Because it's a little bit of a 50-50 thing. And if you don't, then I'm not sure you're the one I'm supposed to ally with. But what I think you are now going to see, I think, mark this, you're going to see puff pieces on her in the New York Times and New York Magazine. She's going to be all over CNN. They'll have her on The View again. She's going to, you know what it is? She's going to be the new Liz Cheney. That's it. That's it. Clip this, put it on do we do this on the internet? We're going to put this on the internet. She's going to be the new Liz Cheney. They're done with Liz Cheney. What was Liz Cheney? She was propped up. Nobody really liked her, but she was propped up because she was thought of as someone on the right who was not in it with Trump, and there was a female component, whatever. Marjorie Taylor Greene is much better on television. She was much closer with Trump, and now she's going to fully turn against Trump, so they have to make her a star. Mark it down, make it happen. 1775 coffee, guys, then we'll have a bit on the border and some strange stuff coming out of the Vatican. Guys, let's be honest. Most coffee gives you that quick little jolt, and then what? A crash, jitters, that mid-morning brain fog, and before you know it, you're already pouring a second or third cup just to make it to lunchtime. But what if your coffee did more than just wake you up? What if it actually did something good for your body, something real, something lasting? Meet Rejuvenate Coffee. This isn't your average cup of joe. It starts with premium real Arabica beans, so yes, it tastes incredible. But what makes it special is what's inside, a powerful compound called CAAKG. Now, I know that sounds technical, but stick with me. CAAKG is backed by real science. It's been shown to support cellular energy, a healthy metabolism, and even healthy aging. Yeah, you heard that right. Your coffee could actually help you feel better, not just today, but 10 years from now. This isn't a gimmick. It's not a trend. It's a smart decision for people who take their health seriously and who want to feel focused, strong, and dialed in every single day. So if you care about how you feel, not just this morning, but long term, Rejuvenate Coffee is for you. Head on over to 1775coffee.com/Rubin and order a bag of Rejuvenate Coffee today. Fuel your body, protect your future. Rejuvenate. Okay, so you guys remember a few days before Charlie died, really the week before, the big story in America was about the young Ukrainian refugee who came to America and was killed by someone on the Charlottesville light rail. That story then disappeared because of Charlie. It actually it occurred in August, but in Charlotte, it occurred in August, but it didn't really get headlines until the story broke online, beginning of September. Well, now Charlotte has become one of the places that Trump is focusing on with his ICE operations. And watch a little bit of how MSNBC tries to frame this. Here they try to stoke fear about Trump bringing ICE to Charlotte to the backdrop of what happened to Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska, who was not killed by an illegal, actually, but watch what they do.
I want you to take a look at this memorial over here. We are at the East-West Boulevard light rail station. A woman named Irina was actually killed here back in August. She was 23 years old, a Ukrainian refugee. She was killed by a U.S. citizen who was having a mental health crisis. But the Trump administration has been using this instance of violence to really categorize all of Charlotte.
Oh, yes. You know that mean Trump administration. Yes, she was a legal immigrant into the United States. She was killed on that light rail. And yes, he was legal, but it's those mean Trump people and those mean ICE people who are now going into Charlotte, which we know has a certain component of illegals. And they're somehow using the story of the dead, beautiful, 23-year-old girl who was murdered in cold blood. They're bludgeoning us. What are they? They're always pouncing. Every time something happens, the Republicans and Trump and the mean conservatives, they pounce on a story. Completely just brain dead and ridiculous. Here's a bit more on what's going on over there from Fox News. Federal agents from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection are expected to arrive in the Charlotte area within days, local officials confirmed this week amid growing friction between Washington's immigration enforcement priorities and Democrat-run cities. The impending immigration enforcement in North Carolina comes as Sheriff Jerry McFadden, a Democrat, has sought to maintain open communication with federal agencies while distancing his department from federal immigration enforcement. The timing of the announcement comes as Charlotte faces intensifying scrutiny over violent crime. Homicides and aggravated assaults have risen sharply this year, prompting Republican lawmakers to urge Democratic Governor Josh Stein to deploy the National Guard. For now, the governor has resisted the call from Republican lawmakers, and local officials have argued that public safety remains a local responsibility. Recently, the city faced 8 homicides in 7 days. The murder rate in uptown Charlotte is now 200 times higher than it was a year ago, a letter from a trio of Republican lawmakers said. According to the Fraternal Order of Police, aggravated assaults involving knives or guns has risen from 86 in 2024 to 111 in 2025, and personal strong-arm robberies have increased from 26 to 31 in the same period. Okay, so most people don't seem to be debating whether violence is increasing in Charlotte. It is, right? We just gave you some numbers right there. Now, the question is how much of that is connected to illegals? I think that question remains an open one, but if the local law enforcement, from the police to the governor, are refusing to work with ICE, which it is their job to deal with illegals, particularly violent illegals, then you are giving the federal government no choice but to clean up the city. I just want you to think for a second. Imagine if this was the city that you live in. Right? There are people that are watching this right now that live in Portland and Seattle. I see messages all the time. You live in Charlotte, you live in New York. If it's your city and the police will not do anything about the crime, or if it's Chicago, can we get the numbers on Chicago? We'll get the Chicago death numbers in just a second. And your local police won't do anything. And your local administration, the governor and the mayor, won't do anything. And, you know, it makes you nervous to go outside at night, or you don't want your kids going out in the afternoon, or blah, 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 what it does to the local economy and everything else. Then wouldn't you want, if you were a sane person, wouldn't you then want the federal government to come in and clean things up? Well, that's exactly what they're doing. They're heading to Charlotte, but they've been doing it in Chicago, which of course means protesters show up, and now they are getting arrested too. Here's some arrests outside the ICE facility in Chicago.
But I do want to talk with you about the protocol of dealing with a crowd this big. And did we even anticipate this is what it would look like? I mean, they're breaking through now.
Yeah, I'm watching this right now, live on Fox, and it does seem like this crowd is getting more violent and pushing back, and it's certainly not what we would call free speech.
All right. So again, people that just show up to these ICE facilities, ICE is just doing their job. And if you go and you stop an ICE official from being able to bring someone into the holding center or whatever it is, like, you're going to be arrested. But you guys want to dress up like furries and bring your flags for Palestine or whatever and do that, I suppose you can. A pretty great weekend in Chicago. Only 7 people were shot, only 2 murdered in cold blood. It's working. Kind of makes it think that what Trump's been doing, thank you, Phoenix. Guess what Trump's been doing in Chicago might be working. Only 7 shot and 2 dead. Pretty good. Listen to this from the New York Times, because some of the other things he's doing are working. Marjorie Taylor Greene might want to take note of this. Immigrant population in the U.S. drops for the first time in decades. An analysis of census data by the Pew Research Center found that between January and June, the foreign-born population declined by nearly 1.5 million. Remember, guys, there's nothing racist about any of this. Black people, white people, Latino people, people from Southeast Asia, and people from South America and North Ireland and all of you people can come to America and legally figure out a way to be here. And if you fold into the melting pot that is America, that is pretty freaking fantastic. And virtually everybody's for that except the most extreme fringes of the fringe. But after the 4 years of letting everybody in here, we still got about 21 million. It's insane. An insane amount of people that we don't know where they are or what they are doing. We are finally getting control of all of this. Now this is a super interesting story, because as Trump has gained control of the border, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops got together, and they are now critiquing what Trump is doing, again, by just defending the sovereign borders of the United States. Take a look.
As pastors, we, the bishops of the United States, are bound to our people by ties of communion and compassion in our Lord Jesus Christ. And we are disturbed when we see among our people a climate of fear and anxiety around questions of profiling and immigration enforcement.
We are saddened by the state of contemporary debate and the vilification of immigrants. We are concerned about the conditions in detention centers and the lack of access to pastoral care.
We lament that some immigrants in the United States have arbitrarily lost their legal status. We are troubled by threats against the sanctity of houses of worship and the special nature of hospitals and schools.
All right. So first off, let me say I'm not Catholic, obviously, so it's not really for me to say the sort of the spiritual critique is maybe not where I'm going to go with this for a moment. But I'm happy to have a Catholic bishop on, or someone that wants to defend some of this from a more religious perspective. But what right do you guys think you actually have to tell the President of the United States how to defend this country? Connor, could you pull up the image of here's the giant wall that is around Vatican City, which is technically its own country. And I'm fairly certain it would be very hard to scale that wall, and that wall is more protected than virtually any wall that we have around this country. But why is it that you guys don't want everyone to come into Vatican City, right? I'm not going after anyone for their religion or I'm going after people for their beliefs that are mistaken. But I don't even think they're honoring their own Catholic beliefs in some sense, because you should have every right to defend your culture and your religion and your way of life. But for some reason, you don't want us to do that in the United States. That seems quite bizarre. Here is Tom Homan, who's obviously in charge of our deportations and cleaning up our border, responding to some of those bishops.
And then the message we should send to the whole world is that if you cross the border illegally, which is a crime, don't worry about it. If you get ordered removed by a federal judge after due process, don't worry about it, because there shouldn't be mass deportations. If that's the message we send to the whole world, people are still going to put themselves in harm's way to come to the greatest nation on earth. They're going to spend their life savings to give it to a criminal cartel. And we saw during the Biden administration, when there was no immigration enforcement, as not only at borders, I'll say it as a Catholic. I think they need to spend time fixing the Catholic Church, in my opinion.
Okay, so that's his opinion as a Catholic. And obviously, we don't have to get into the long litany of things that have happened throughout the Catholic Church. And hopefully most of that sordid history has been cleaned up. But why they would be attacking a sovereign nation from their sovereign walls of the Vatican seems, I would say, less than authentic. What Americans might want to focus on is that we do have a problem. We do have a problem with a strain of religion that is growing rapidly in the United States. Check this out from the Unwokeness account on Twitter. These are 48 mosques that have now opened in Dallas. Dallas, you are just seeing Dallas right there. 48 mosques have now opened, new mosques, in the last 2 years in Dallas. This is to the backdrop of that epic city that we've covered, which was going to be basically a Sharia-compliant city. We might want to start thinking about that. And that is not to be bigoted towards anybody, but if there is a religion that is based in a set of ideas that is antithetical to the foundation of the United States, which is based in individual freedom and liberty, then we might want to think about that. Now, that's happening over in Texas. In Florida, we think about things a little bit differently because we're clear-eyed and we seem to care about the Constitution and America and freedom more than most other places. Here's Ron DeSantis.
You know, you have some strain on the right that says, oh, no, illegal immigration is bad. Legal immigration, no matter what, is good. And wait a minute. Now, I'm not saying any of it's that it's all bad or what, but is bringing 10 million people from like Somalia and dumping them into Georgia, is that good because it's legal? I think you have to think critically about what are we doing with an immigration policy, and is it benefiting the American people? Is it helping to promote a strong American culture? We should never bring people into this country who hate America. And it's lazy thinking to say anything that's legal must necessarily be good. Don't do what Europe did. Europe did a mass migration that was legal, that was intentional, and it's proven to be disastrous.
Yeah, that's just right. And once again, although I think that was in Vail, Colorado, I am very proud that is the #1 Florida man, and we will see which way the state goes. You know, he's obviously in his last 2 years now, and Byron Donalds, congressman from Fort Myers area, he's running. We'll see who else dives in. And I just hope whoever it is, they will continue the DeSantis tradition of defending Florida and defending freedom here. And he's perfectly right that, yes, most of us can get on board. Okay, illegal immigration is bad, but we also have to think about the legal component of it. Do we want more of our cities to be overtaken the way Minneapolis was? Go to Dearborn, Michigan, and go fly your gay flag there, Queers for Palestine, and let's see how it works out. So sometimes if you just bring in people, even legally, without vetting them properly and seeing if they really want to be part of the United States, you might just be destroying the United States from the inside. Speaking of destroying the United States from the inside, the Democrat Party is not very good. They do have one man who had brain damage a couple of years ago, whose brain has suddenly turned on. He's making some sense. He did take a fall the other day, but fortunately, thank God, actually, he's okay. Yes, I'm talking about Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. Here he is talking to Lara Trump about some of the problems with the Democrats.
And that's why we happen to agree. We need to secure our border. I'm very, very pro-immigration, always have been, still is. But two things must be true. We need to secure our border. And then I do say that my party has done a bad job about our border. Absolutely, undeniable. And that's why I joined her. And I thought that we have the appropriate numbers of votes to do it. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay, again, it's still slightly muddled and all of those things, but like he's just making the point. Have a border. You can be for illegal immigration. I would say he should probably tighten that language up a little bit, sort of like DeSantis did, which is it's not that you should just be for legal immigration. You should be for sensible legal immigration and really understand where people are coming and do they have jobs and are they going to assimilate and all of those things. But I'll take what I can get out of a Democrat. Here, continuing on this, sort of what's going on with Fetterman and where the Democrats are at right now. James Carville, kooky. James Carville went on Kayleigh McEnany's show on Fox, and they talked a bit about Fetterman. And I think this actually says far more about James Carville than it says about John Fetterman.
Can I tell you another huge mistake of your party? Not listening to Senator John Fetterman. That is the single smartest guy you have in your party. He doesn't hate. He says it like it is.
If John Fetterman is the smartest person in the Democratic Party is in really, really, really deep trouble.
Oh, wow.
Really deep trouble.
Hey,
John Fetterman.
We'll take Senator Fetterman over here. We'll have him. We got a Big Ten over
here. If I
here.
want to listen to somebody from Pennsylvania Democratic Party, I will listen to Governor Josh Shapiro every day, 7 days a week.
That's so interesting. I get it. Carville's just old and kooky, but Shapiro actually lines up pretty well with Fetterman. So I don't know what you think the distinction there is exactly. They both, well, certainly Shapiro will never have a bigger role in the party because he's a Jew and the party is just done with the Jews. Sorry, you don't fit into the intersectional calculator anymore, but it's better to be successful and hated than to be unsuccessful and loved, right? Like, get yours in this world. That's what America's all about. And they hate people that actually accomplish that. That's one thing. But I would say, Carville, you're not realizing it because there you have Kayleigh. It's so interesting. You have a Fox, far right Fox News, and they're so scared. There she is going, it's obvious she has huge disagreements with Fetterman, but we'll take him over here. And that's what Trump has created on the right. You love America. We disagree on some policy stuff, but you want to make this thing work? We will take you over here. And that's why you know it. Everyone, you know it to be true, right? I'll do a little Palpatine. Like, you know it to be true. If Fetterman tomorrow said, I can't take it with you crazy Democrats anymore, he would be welcomed into the Republican Party. A few of his colleagues would say, well, you know, we're still not thrilled with where he's at on abortion or whatever else, but he would be welcomed in and he would be a great asset to the Republican Party. So we will see where it ends with him. But what this all brings me to is a line that I love from Trump, and this is the truth. How do you defeat the bad ideas? Well, you defeat them through success.
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success.
All right, so how do you make our country successful? You unleash the human mind, right? You unleash capitalism, you unleash innovation. And let me just read, because this is so cool this weekend. There was a heavy rocket from New Glenn that launched from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, carrying 2 NASA space science probes, which are part of the ESCAPADE mission bound for Mars. I'm just reading a little bit for you. Just bear with me. We're going to show you some video. The first stage booster of the New Glenn then successfully landed on a barge in the Atlantic Ocean, a key milestone in reusable rocket capability. The mission marked the second flight of New Glenn, but the first with a real science payload for NASA, and a strong step in the Blue Origin plan to complete more broadly into orbital launches. So take a look at this. If you want to just see that, I know everything gets lost in politics and we're always fighting. There's so much cool stuff happening out there. This is Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin working with NASA. So this is private and public stuff coming together, not to be fascist, but to actually figure out if maybe we could have life on Mars. And here they are catching the NG-2 rocket booster.
Mission, and we have landing burn ignition, G3 good engines.
We've got our booster landing burn.
Engine control looks good.
Of course those clouds are there.
8 minutes, 43 seconds. Flight deployed. Now down
A great shot from our booster.
Standing by for touchdown. Touchdown. Touchdown confirmed. GS2 continuing to work. Burn system looks good. Weapon out full time.
So guys, there's cool stuff happening. Like, we can get to other planets. We can make life interplanetary. We can solve so many of the problems. We gotta stop fighting. So what? Your hair is a little bit different. Just get on with life. Enjoy yourself. Guys, because we have Scott Galloway in just moments from now, I got literally 3 minutes. There's no post-game show today, but I promise I'll make it up for you locals people. Tomorrow we will do an extended post-game. Thank you for watching. More tomorrow. See you later.
It might get new.
It ain't rocket science.
No, I've just seen what's been available in the media.
Boom, narco-terrorists go flying.
A 30-year-old white man.
He had a huge ass.
I'm not changing a thing.
Hello, trusty viewer. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report on December 9th, 2025. We are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. We have a post-game show after the show where you can ask me questions, you can comment, you can criticize, and all sorts of things. It's up to you. RubinReport.locals.com. And let's just dive right in. Little of everything. But I thought this would be a nice way to start. It's not a Monday, but we are going to do a little Bill Maher stuff. We like our Mondays with Maher. It's Tuesday, but we're going to Bill Maher because on Club Random, and this is where he sits down with all sorts of people, he drinks some tequila, he smokes some weed, and he sometimes argues with people, sometimes he agrees with people. It's a totally fun vibe and really an interesting little situation that he's created over there as a guy that really is a mainstream machine at this point. He had my, I guess you would say, former friend and colleague from the Young Turks, Anna Kasparian, on. Anna, for those of you that don't know her, she's a lefty, progressive, She happens to be Armenian, which she works at a place called the Young Turks. The Young Turks was the name of the group of people in Turkey who committed the Armenian genocide, killed about 1 million Armenians, but let's put that aside for a moment. She's a leftist. She's woken up a little bit. I think about a year or two ago, she lives in LA and she got mugged or something, or some guys accosted her outside her apartment. Suddenly she started waking up to some of the issues around crime in blue run cities, blah, blah. She's kind of woken up a little bit, but still, like most lefties, has this weird thing around Islam and blaming kind of everything on America, that nobody has any autonomy. No one can make a decision anywhere in the world that doesn't, at the end of the day, be blamed, come back to America first. Ironically, America first. Anyway, Bill and Anna got into it on whether she wears very tight dresses, a lot of makeup, all that stuff, whether she would dress like that in the Middle East.
If you had to live in the Middle East, so tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East, where would you live? You can pick one city, any city. You can, as far away as, say, Pakistan. You could live in Karachi. You could live in Cairo. You could live in Amman, Jordan. You seem to love Lebanon. I mean, Beirut's nice when the bombing's not happening and the assassinations have stopped. Where would you live? What city would you live in?
Well,
where do you think you'd be comfortable in that dress?
I'm sure it would not be comfortable in this dress in any of the various Middle Eastern countries that have been destabilized by
You're not
the United States.
You're not really blaming it on Whitey.
Listen.
Are you? You're blaming Islam on Whitey?
Okay, we didn't record what I said during, okay, good. So I'll just try to be nicer here. Look, the obvious answer, you can see what Bill was doing and doing it quite well, and you can even see in her answer that she doesn't want to say the truth because it's obvious. The obvious answer, if you are a female who wants to live as you wish to live and dress the way you want to dress and put on the makeup that you want to put on and date freely and not be accosted by men and all of those things, the place you would go obviously is Tel Aviv, or you could literally be in Jerusalem and you would be fine too, even though that's way more religious. But she is a leftist, so she has what I think you can call Israel derangement syndrome. So of course she has to blame. The reason she can't wear her tight dress and put on her makeup and flaunt her sexiness is because of America, because America forced these people and their societies to act like savages. It's completely absurd. You could see she couldn't even believe it. And Bill, that is Bill just at his best, like just not taking any BS. Anyway, it continued.
I'm not blaming Islam on Whitey.
But what you're saying is we destabilized. That's why you can't wear that dress.
Did we not destabilize?
Wait a second.
We were funding terrorist organizations in Syria during the Syrian civil war, starting under the Obama administration.
That's why
did that not destabilize Syria?
No, what's destabilized?
There's a literal Al-Qaeda terrorist.
We're talking about your dress.
Oh,
why?
It looks good. I know it looks good.
You're saying you can't wear that dress in Syria because of Whitey destabilizing?
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's what
You're putting words in my mouth.
Okay, great.
But the United States did destabilize various Middle Eastern countries. Are you going to deny that?
I asked about the dress, and you went right to destabilize. So is that why you couldn't wear that dress? Why couldn't you wear that dress? Why couldn't you walk down?
You want me to talk about jihadism and Islam, but like...
Why won't you?
Listen...
Why won't you?
I mean,
Why?
I don't believe in jihadism, which is why I'm furious that
you don't believe in jihadism and yet you won't condemn it. She won't give an answer because she knows at the end of leftist logic, this is the Red-Green Alliance. Why is it that the lefties, the queers for Palestine, are aligning with the very people that would behead him? Right? Because it's a quest for revolution to destroy the West. And that's what she, as a leftist influencer, let's say, is interested in. So she knows the answer of where she could wear the dress, and she knows the answer of why she can't wear the dress in any of those other places. And it is because of Islam. Now, I'm not even saying Islam has to change. You want to have your countries and see them as they say fit. We can judge them accordingly, but I'm not for us changing them, right? Like they can change themselves if they so if they see fit, right? Like, and maybe as time goes by and as the internet becomes more ubiquitous and they get more access to information, maybe they'll have bottom-up revolutions against the people that put them in these outfits and all of those things. But that's up to them. But the fact that she's running cover, she's a lefty. They're supposed to be for women, and they're supposed to be for minorities, and they're supposed to be for my body, my choice, and all of those things. And at the end, and Bill just does it brilliantly. It's a very obvious, open-ended question. Where could you wear that dress? She can't say Israel because that represents the West. It's the place they hate most. And she can't say the reason she can't wear it in the other places is because of Islam, because Islam is the thing that they have put at the height, at the top, at the pinnacle of their their intersectional calculator. So it's interesting because she is, I don't mean this, look, I hate these like little interpersonal back and forth things, but there's something interesting going on with her because as so many, as the lefties, as by and large, all of the lefties have gone completely woke and insane and everything else, she occasionally comes off as slightly sane, so she's getting a lot of play in right-wing media, but I think she just got fully exposed right there as just another leftist shill. At the end of the day, you will bow to Islam while you are in that dress in the comfort of America, rather than just say what the obvious truth is. However, there was something nice that happened in all of that beyond what Bill just did right there. Yes, that is Kopal sitting right in the middle there. So if Kopal can do nothing else, it will give you a good time. You can take two people who diametrically are opposed, one who isn't particularly bright. So I guess that's the lesson. Kopal, it's good for bright people and not so bright people. And by the way, there's a 10% off Christmas sale right now. Go to drinkkopal.com. We got a couple thousand bottles left. We have crushed, by the way, we're trying to figure out the full numbers on this thing, but our distributor said we have crushed every online sales record they have ever seen. So it is a beautiful gift for the holidays, but let's leave that there. The point of all of this, though, the reason I'm going with that clip is not really to just own her or any of that stuff. It's that you don't have to go to the Middle East to see how bad ideas can spread. You can actually just go to most of Europe, and sometimes you can even come here to America. Let's go to the UK for a minute. Listen to this and explain to me, did these two Afghan asylum seekers do this because we destabilized them? This is from BizGrad24. Video of two Afghan asylum seekers dragging a 15-year-old girl into a park before raping her. They arrived by boat a few months earlier. She filmed herself being dragged into the bushes. Her lawyer says the video is so horrific that it would cause riots if released. Now, you might argue, if you're a good lefty like Anna there, you would argue, well, we destabilized Afghanistan. I don't even want to bother getting into, well, there was a guy by the name of Osama bin Laden and all that. But their argument would be, we destabilized Afghanistan, so these people have to now come across the world and they have to be part of our societies. Now, even if you believed some version of that was true, did we screw up Afghanistan? We had a 20-year war that no one knew exactly why we did it, and most of the 9/11 people were from Saudi Arabia. I can get on board some of that stuff. But why is it that so many, a ridiculously disproportionate amount of the people who come as migrants or refugees, they are young, they are male, they're in their 20s and 30s, they're of fighting age, and they do horrible things? Go to America or go to, your local library. Do they still have microfiche? Do you guys even remember what microfiche is? You guys don't even know what it is, do you? Google microfiche. I want a picture of a microfiche machine. It was an old thing at a library back in the day that you'd go downstairs and you could use the microfiche machine to look at old articles from newspapers. And if the microfiche machine still exists, you can go to your library and see pictures of what it looked like when people were coming to America into Ellis Island, and there were old women and they had one bag and a kid. We've got the microfiche machine. I used to operate one of those machines as a youngster in Long Island. Yes, that was the machine. Some of you will remember that. The point is that all of these people, they're coming and then they are bringing their bad habits. So is it the destabilization that we caused in Syria, to whatever extent that's true, that we caused in Syria or Afghanistan or anywhere else, that caused people to become rapists? If somebody, Connor, I got one for you. If somebody destabilized America and all hell broke loose and you had to move to Canada, would you start raping 15-year-old girls? No? Phoenix?
No.
No? Joseph? Why'd you pause? All right, we'll talk about that at lunch. You see the point. There is something culturally going on here culturally. Oh, and by the way, this idea that everything is the United States' fault is so fucking boring. It's boring and it's dumb, because go to the history of the Middle East. Those maps have been redrawn hundreds and hundreds of times. It is a place that is about conquering and reconstituting states and everything else. But everything is just the fault of the United States since World War II. That's when history began, according to progressives. Anyway, we don't just have to go to Afghanistan or to Syria or some of the other places that Anna refuses to wear that dress wisely, or the UK, where it's probably not the greatest thing to do that. You can also go to Minnesota. Listen to this from Tommy Robinson. A serial rapist has been charged with kidnapping and sexually assaulting a woman over several days in a hotel room. This comes just months after being let off with no prison time for 2 other attacks, including the rape of a 15-year-old girl at gunpoint. Ambadat Belay Mohammed, 28, was only free because of an astonishing plea deal he was given in May by Progressive County, Hennepin County, Minnesota. It's becoming every day now, just like the UK. Get them out. So again, leave the image up for just a second. That guy right there, okay, was he forced to rape a 15-year-old girl at gunpoint because of something the United States did regarding destabilization across the world, or is there something else going on? I mean, really think about it. It was nice to hear that Connor and Phoenix would not just randomly rape a 15-year-old if they had to go to Canada. But really think about it. Imagine your country fell apart and you were welcomed into another country. Would you just start raping their women because of the destabilization? The answer is obviously no. You might start raping women if you've been fed all of the wrong ideas, if you think they are to live as dhimmis and you can use them and you are, all right, you got it. But there's more. Let's do a little bit more here. This is from Dapper Detective on X. Breaking: statement of probable cause details the horrific rape of a 15-year-old girl by a 27-year-old Muslim illegal alien. Ochan Omat Achogi in Sanctuary Hellscape, Minnesota. Deport all of these third world pedophiles, indict Democrats for harboring them. Okay, so the little editorialization there. But again, look at that guy. Was he forced to become a rapist of a 15-year-old girl in Minnesota because we destabilized somebody somewhere? Or is there something else going on? Well, we've got some numbers on something else that might be going on. This is from Han Shawnedy. He's a great follow on X. The rape rate in Minneapolis, Minnesota is 101 per 100,000 people, which is roughly 150 times higher than the national average. For context, here's the rape rate in other major cities. New York City, it's 33 out of 100. LA, 40 out of 100. Miami, 100K, obviously. Miami, 23 out of 100K. Dallas, 37 out of 100K. San Francisco, 35 out of 100K. Why is that? So it's not double, triple, quadruple, et cetera, et cetera. We're talking over 100 times more there. Do you think there is a connection? Now, there's another part of this, because so much of this just lies at the feet of the mainstream media. They cried racism so falsely. They told us we were systemically racist. They made it so that if you pointed out anything where there were racial disparities, they always called you racist. And now there's this massive blowback against it. But we do have to start thinking about why some of these things happen. So this is, I thought, quite interesting. This is from End Wokeness. Now look at this. 6.4% of Minnesota's population is black. They commit 62% of the crimes. The white population is 81.6. So if you add those two, you get about 91, 92%. And then there's about 8% that's Asian or whatever else. But the white population is about 81.6% of Minnesota, and they commit 30.8% of the crimes. So this is wildly disproportionate. Now that's a little different than because we got destabilized over there. But we have to be able to talk about this, right? That is not anyone encouraging anyone to be racist, and you should only judge anyone by their actions and their words. But if we can't look at those numbers and say, well, so what has gone on here? Now, the problem is the Democrats will look at those numbers and go, that's systemic racism. What they might want to look at is their own policies, mostly which started in the early 70s, and we've done plenty of shows on this with Larry Elder, who we should have back on soon, and Thomas Sowell and many others, who talked about once the welfare state kicked in, it largely destroyed the nuclear black family. So there were many, many more black households being raised without a father. That causes all sorts of problems. Then you get people on the dole of the government. They don't have the drive to get better jobs. And then you're giving them rent subsidized apartments. It creates the perfect conditions for criminality. Now let's get back to the immigration part of this. Let's go back to Minnesota, where Jacob Frey, you know this guy. He is the most pandering, ridiculous politician perhaps in the country. And here he is talking to the Somali community. And again, note he cannot make a distinction between legal and illegal immigration.
And the message that we are sending to our Somali community, to our Latino community, to any community that is being targeted, is that we stand with you. Minneapolis is not backing down. Our police officers will not coordinate with any federal agency that is doing immigration law enforcement work. We stand with the community members that make Minneapolis the extraordinary place that it is, and we aren't backing down. We're rock solid in support of them.
Okay, so again, no distinction between illegal and legal. Nobody is going after legal immigrants. Look, there might be, we've talked about it a bunch over the last week or so, there might be a particularly unique problem with legal Somalis due to some of the fraud stuff that we've talked about, the rapes, the criminal gangs. Like, there might be something, but I haven't heard anyone, even Donald Trump, I don't think I've heard anyone say the people who got here legally, even the ones that are up to no good, have to be kicked out. There might be an argument for that at some point. Like, if you came in legally, you're first generation, and you're just wrecking havoc, like, there's probably some argument about that. I'm not even sure what the legal issues would be around that. But he's saying the Somali community, the Latino community, any community that is being targeted. They're not targeting the Somali community or the Latino community or any community just based on some sort of immutable characteristic. They're targeting illegals. That is what ICE is doing. So he is breaking federal law when he, as the mayor, tells the police, do not work with ICE. He should not be the mayor of New York City. And by the way, the guy who's going to be sworn in about 2.5 weeks in New York City, Zohran Mamdani, or as we like to call him, Moron Zamboni, he is also telling the police of New York, do not work with the federal government. It is illegal. He shouldn't even be allowed to be sworn in, but it's New York, and good luck with all of that. But how else are things translating over in Minnesota? Well, check out the Winooski School District right here. Oh, this is in Vermont. Sorry, this isn't even Minnesota. Well, good for Minnesota, spreading the love. Yeah, they're raising the Somali flag there in Vermont. Bernie must be thrilled about that. And as far as I understand, I did a little digging on this. Do we have an image? Look at this. Look, after school. That's right. You can get the Female Genital Mutilation Club at that school in Vermont, right? And look at those scissors. You get to keep the scissor, too. It's very, very exciting. Oh, the wonders of AI. But as long as we're talking about the Somalis of Minnesota, who, again, undoubtedly, there are individuals who are America-loving, proud to be here and everything else, right? But some of them aren't. And I would say the main one who ain't is Ilhan Omar, who's recently comparing Stephen Miller, a Jew, to the Nazis. Here's Jesse Waters on that.
His white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people in Germany.
Oh, yes, Stephen Miller, the Jewish Nazi. Omar's not the only one comparing Miller to Nazis. This Somali councilman has been on the warpath.
Obviously, everyone knows that our president is racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, and we are going to fight that.
It's not this Somali's first rodeo with the race card. When Minnesota first got word of the fraud, he threatened to call everyone Hitler if they cut him off.
When I heard that MDE took this step to really stop feeding the kids in the middle of pandemic, my office had to do something. But I'm one of those people that push back and call it what it is, which is racist tactic.
We are up against something here, guys. We are really up against an infection in the system. If America is a body, we have an infection. And this infection, it's like, how do you stop an infection when it's constantly being poked at and prodded, right? Like the body starts healing. How has the body started healing? Well, in the 10 or 11 months of the Trump administration, we closed the borders. We stopped the illegals from coming in. So now the infection could start healing. But then you have people that are here now who are actively trying to stop law enforcement, ICE in this case, from doing their job, which is to get rid of illegals. And then you have politicians who lie about it because they don't make the distinction between legal and illegal. And then, of course, we have a mainstream media that launders all of those lies. So the average person that still watches mainstream media or is not that astute or just doesn't care that much because they're living their life, and I fully respect that. They're confused about what the issues are because they're like, oh my God, ICE is coming in and grabbing grandma off the linoleum floor, as Jon Stewart said. And it's all complete lies. The other part that they have to do beyond the lying is they have to overly emote about everything. Here is Gavin Newsom, who we confirmed yesterday does not have testicles, about Stephen Miller.
He's about cruelty and chaos. Yeah. I think there's a cruelty to him. I really do. And I'll say that honestly about a lot of people. Where do you think that comes from? I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know him, so I can't analyze him except from afar. Quite literally, people are disappearing. Yeah. The screams that you can't unhear what you hear or see in these videos of moms that are losing family members. Those screams are real. I was with a 16-year-old kid who couldn't even look me in the eye because his mom and dad disappeared, going to the same job they went to for 20 years at a vegetable packing place in Ventura County. That's Stephen Miller.
This is the suicidal empathy thing that Gad Saad talks about. First off, you want to talk about cruelty? Do we have an image of cruelty that he has done? Yeah, this is cruelty. This is cruelty, and it's all over your state, Gavin Newsom. This is the fentanyl fold. These are people who are everywhere in Los Angeles, everywhere in San Francisco, who get hooked on drugs, largely because of an open border that you are all about, right? You were telling Trump he was a racist the entire time. So that is cruel, but you don't care about those people because those are legal citizens. Now, as for the 16-year-old kid who couldn't look you in the eye, now I don't know where all these videos are. There's all these videos of all these people who are being unpersoned and disappearing. Now, first off, anyone that's being taken out of the country is illegal. I don't have any. You can go look for yourself. Don't even trust us. Show me some video somewhere, please, someone put it in the comment section, of people who are legal and being taken out of the country. Now, in the case that he's talking about, my guess is two parents who were illegals. So they chose to come here illegally. They probably, I don't know if they brought the kid over with them or they had the kid here, in which case he's an American citizen, but then they made a choice in their lives. They might be perfectly good people and they might have been working hard and wanted to participate in the American dream and all of those things. And that's just fine. But there are people waiting in line right now, right? You cannot let everyone in. If you have a party, a dinner party at your house, you don't just put a sign outside that says, everyone come, free filet mignon. No, because you have a limited, finite amount of filet mignon and you can't give it to everyone. So you're not empathetic. It's fake. It's fake empathy. When you have endless empathy, you actually end up being really cruel. And that is what you are. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is trying to clean it up. He's doing a hell of a job and he's getting some accolades for it. We'll have more on that in just a second, but first, Shopify. If you've ever shopped online, chances are you've bought from a business that is powered by Shopify, and there's a reason so many businesses use it. Shopify doesn't just make it simple to buy, it makes it incredibly easy to start and run your own business. It's the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., powering everything from household names to brand new startups. With Shopify, you can choose from hundreds of beautiful, ready-to-go templates to express your brand style. You can manage everything in one place, from inventory to payments to analytics, and even grow your audience with built-in marketing and email tools. So if you want to see fewer abandoned carts and more cha-chings, it's time to check out Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Rubin. That's shopify.com/Rubin. All right, so Trump is cleaning things up. He's cleaning things up within our country right now, closing the border. about 650 to 700,000 illegals out so far. But again, to the backdrop of it could be 20 million that came in 4 years, it's a drop in the bucket. And we've got a lot more work to do. And thank God he's president for 3 more years. That's one thing. But he's also cleaning up a lot of the world. He has wrapped up 8 wars. We have at least a temporary ceasefire and maybe a broader chance for peace in the Middle East. He's working on the Russia-Ukraine thing, and he's getting, as I said, accolades for it. Just yesterday, he received the FIFA, that's the World Soccer, or as you people call it, Football Association, Peace Prize. Here's President Gianna Infantino giving it to him.
The FIFA Peace Prize is presented annually on behalf of the billions of football-loving people from around the world to a distinguished individual who exemplifies an unwavering commitment to advancing peace and unity throughout the world through their notable leadership and action. Awards the 2025 FIFA Peace Prize, Football Unites the World, to Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America.
Okay, so there's something particularly interesting about this because this is a sports organization. Now, we make fun of soccer here in America. It's not really my thing, but like it's huge all over the world. They didn't have to give it to Trump. They probably were sitting in an office, somebody at the FIFA World headquarters, wherever that is, going, you know, this maybe isn't a great idea because we're going to get a lot of pushback and everything else. But they went ahead and did the right thing. Here's Infantino on Trump's track record and why he got the award.
I was lucky, Mr. President, to witness a few years ago the Abraham Accord signatures. A few months ago in Sharm el-Sheikh, the peace in the Middle East agreement regarding Gaza. I was in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur for the peace between Cambodia and Thailand. Yesterday here in Washington, the Washington peace agreement between Rwanda and the DRC. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, Johnny and I were discussing this. We saved millions and millions of lives. The Congo, as an example, over 10 million people killed, and it was heading for another 10 million very quickly. And it just, you know, the fact that we could do that, India, Pakistan, so many different wars that we're able to end.
Yeah, and that's Trump at his best, off the cuff, just telling the truth, right? Like outside of the, oh, this one's a garbage country or anything else, like the truth. And the truth is that by exercising American strength, not by bombing the crap out of people, but by exercising American strength and a moral standing in the world, that if we don't exercise, someone else will. And I hate to tell you, but nobody, Russia, China, they ain't going to be as moral as us. We've started to clean these things up. So India, Pakistan, Abraham Accords, Gaza, they just went through the list, right? And it doesn't mean it's all going to be perfect, but this is one of the strange things as we're watching some of this weirdness on the right from, say, like the Tucker Carlson crew that want America to have nothing to do with the world. Philosophically, I can get on board some of that stuff. Like, you're an American, you should only care about America, but America doesn't exist in a vacuum. So with no real cost to us in terms of blood and soldiers or anything else, by exerting influence, by saying, here are our allies, here are the bad guys, start coming together, let's figure some things out, we've made the world more peaceful. When we back out of the world, it creates the vacuum for the bad guys to get in there. That's just a reality that you cannot get around. Here is Scott Jennings over on CNN explaining that Trump has many, many accomplishments. He points out to what he thinks his best is.
First of all, he's got a great track record of solving conflicts around the world. The United States has engaged in many places and brought countries that were in conflict to a peaceful resolution. That's good. Number two, I think one of his greatest accomplishments, bringing home the living hostages from Gaza, getting a ceasefire there in the Middle East, trying to expand the Abraham Accords. That's a great thing. And number three, even on Venezuela, I mean, look, we're attacking people that are doing the opposite of bringing peace to families in the United States. I mean, when we let this poison into our country, we're effectively letting in terrorists. I think the president believes deeply in peace. I think he has a track record of it. And I think the FIFA guy came up with a great idea. And it's great for our country that we're having the World Cup. And I'm glad the president is leaning into it with the head of.
Yeah, of course, every word of that is right. And you can decide for yourself what you think the best thing that Trump has done over the years as it comes to these peace deals is. But all of these people, right now, there's a certain set of people, again, a sliver of these people on the right, but they're very loud online, who are like, oh, we're going to invade Venezuela and it's regime change and all of these things. It's like they're actively committing war, depending on how you want to use the word, on us. If you flood a country with drugs and kill their citizens, that is a type of war. Missiles aren't the only way you can kill people. You can degrade a society through drugging their young people and destroying their cities. That might be one way to do it kind of in slow motion. And by the way, the opium wars, this is not, the idea of drugging another population as an act of war is not just suddenly new right now. So Trump isn't going for Venezuela because he's for war. In essence, he's trying to end a war that's already on our soil. Now we will jump over to the ladies of The View and, well, shocker, shocker, they are less than enthused about Trump getting all these awards.
The thing about this peace award, this peace medal,
it's a piece of metal, yeah.
Yeah, it's a piece of metal. Correct. It just, I think we all know that Obama lives rent-free in Trump's head. And he has for a really long time. And I think the fact that President Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize is still living rent-free in this president's mind. And he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He's probably not going to get the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't think he's worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize, quite frankly.
If you show up with a tchotchke, preferably covered in gold, and give it to the 3-year-old in the Oval Office, he will be entertained and he will be happy.
Right? Wait, she's not pregnant? Is Alyssa Farah pregnant? Can you go back to that video for a second? I'm not even making fun. I don't know that, I wasn't making a weight joke really, but could we just forward and let's just see here, right at the end, they